Yo, 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 yo. What's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads out there? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
I'm great.
You're great?
I'm great.
I love it.
Good.
Love it. Hey, everybody out in the world. Hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks. I know we are. I want to thank you all for listening out there. I just got back from a trip from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And you all know I went there last year too, and how much fun I had visiting some dispensaries. And this time I visited a few, but two in particular. We are going to smoke a strain that I've been wanting for a while that we have never gotten, and I found it in Tulsa. We had DVG, Dungeon Vault Genetics, on. He mastered a strain and created a genetic called Purple Gelato. And there is some genetics in Oklahoma that he sold to a grower out there, and I met a dispensary that grows this. They have a little grow house in the back called Tulsa Dispensary, and they had Purple Gelato. And the owner gave me a couple nugs. I was super excited. He goes, hey, take these, take them home. I said, I'm going to smoke these on the show. And we got back, and we smoked it that night when I got back, and it is really nice. Really nice. So Mrs. Weedman's going to smoke. Well, I tell you a little bit about Purple Gelato. I've been wanting this strain for a long time, and I'm super stoked to let you all know how great it is. And it is a very great indica hybrid. And the Purple Gelato is created by Dungeon Vault Genetics. It's got that strong gelato 33 nose with the insane color of purple vapor. These dark beauties taste as good as they look, often chosen to treat conditions such as chronic pain, depression, muscle spasms, insomnia, and chronic stress. Purple Gelato is a potent hybrid cannabis strain made by crossing Sunset Sherbet with Thin Mint GSC. The flavor profile of this strain is sweet, tangy, and followed by a lovely floral aroma. Purple Gelato provides a heavy-handed high that will physically relax your entire body while keeping your brain active. Anyone with a low THC tolerance should be careful when smoking this strain. Purple Gelato nugs are marked by a small spikes and shades of deep purple. Yes, they are. They are very nice. You get relaxed, a little bit of hunger. Happy are some of the feelings people get from this. It helps with depression, anxiety, insomnia. It is a phenomenal strain. Tastes great. Mrs. Weedman going for a two-hitter?
Yeah, like part of me is like, don't do it.
I wouldn't, but that's up to you. I do it. Whatever. Don't listen to me.
Why not?
Fuck it. Just hit it.
Why not? There's a
Hit it.
snowstorm coming.
Yeah, there is.
There's a good reason. Why not?
Chicago's about
Like
to
that
get
has
whacked
anything to do with anything.
about 20 inches of snow, up to, depending on certain parts of Illinois. Our friends in the Northeast are getting whacked with that nor'easter, too. They got a blizzard hit them, too. So hopefully everyone's being safe out there driving and taking care of themselves. Stock up on some food and make sure you got enough food for a few days and water and stuff like that. So good luck, everybody out there. And make sure you stock up on plenty of weed. Okay, you're going to need that while you're sitting at home reading a book, drinking a glass of rosé, or watching some TV and whatever you do during your time of smoking. Make sure you stock up. I also got to go back to one of my favorite dispensaries, and that was Med Farm in Tulsa. And I tried this time, Mrs. Weedman, the Slurpee.
You did?
So excited. I did not do a full cup. I did not do the whole 50 milligram. I probably did about 10, 15. I did like a quarter of a cup. It was very tasty.
Was it good?
Oh, yeah, it was delicious. It was I think it was
Like
a cherry.
like a 7-Eleven
Yeah,
Slurpee?
like a 7-Eleven Slurpee. The ice cream machine wasn't working because I would have put a little. I would have made
that
it
would've
Mr.
been
Misty, but the
good.
ice cream machine wasn't on. But I do have to say this: the Slurpee was great. I got a nice little high. It wasn't crazy. It was just nice. But then I got to say, I talked to the baker again. There's Sarah, who bakes all their cookies and edibles, and she gave me a shit ton of cookies, and we ate some yesterday, and I was baked. I was so baked. But it was a good high, and it was a good edible high, mellow, just what I needed to help me like just get in a good zone. I mean, I was like really, 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 really high, but like good high. It wasn't like a crazy edible high. It was smooth. I think I ate like I think there were 25, 30 milligrams, she said. I think I ate half of one, and I was picking out some of the crumbs too because you repackaged them in some cellophane to put in the freezer to save for later. But I was baked, and they were great. So, Sarah, keep on baking what you're baking. They're amazing. Med Farm, thank you. Denise, I'm sorry I didn't get to see you this time. You were out, but I got to experience your shop again, your dispo again. I want to say I love going there. You guys are great. And Tulsa Dispensary, Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your genetics are phenomenal. Thank you for taking me on a tour of your dispensary. But not only that, your grow house right behind your dispensary, which you had some phenomenal plants growing, some great genetics. I want to say thank you for your hospitality, Tulsa. I came back with a lot of stuff. Going to be eating and smoking a lot for the next couple of months. I appreciate you all out there. You keep on doing it right. Keep on smoking big fat doinks. And the Weedman 420 Chronicles thanks you all for all your hospitality. Mrs. Weedman, I'm going to hit this purple gelato.
Yeah.
Say hello to everybody.
I just wanted to say, Mr. Weedman, you're cute.
Hey, thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm going to give you more of this purple gelato then.
Not that I didn't know that already, but I just had confirmation when I was just looking at you. Like, you're pretty cute.
Thanks. I was at the dentist today, and I get a root canal. And as you all know, I'll be turning 50 this year. I'm not hiding it. I don't care. But the woman who was working said to me, she goes, "You're 50?" I said, "Well, not yet, but I will be this year." She goes, "You don't look 50." I was like, "Thanks." And then you had the same experience today also.
Yeah, I had to go get just routine blood work, and I think the hematologist was either trying to get me to go on a date with her, or she has like a single dad that she was trying to hook up on a date. And she was like questioning how old I was and what do I do to stay fit. And then she specifically asked, "Are you single?" I was like, "Girl, no. Do you not see my ring?" Strange.
Very nice.
It was sweet, but a little strange. Yeah.
Two upcoming 50-year-olds that still look like they're in their mid-40s.
Well, I don't know about that. I think if you look close enough, you know we're 50.
Speak for yourself.
Hey, all right, maybe not you, but you know, women age and men age like fine wine. They get better looking as they get older. Women, we just age. Not to say that we're not attractive as we age, but I think
you got hit
guys, yeah. But I think guys just age. I don't know. It's just different. You guys are lucky. Maybe there's just more expectation of society about women aging versus men. That's probably what it comes down to.
I know. I think you're beautiful. Thanks for calling me cute.
Thanks. You're cute.
I appreciate it.
Hey, hottie.
You ready to start the show?
Yeah. I'm sure people don't want to hear about us telling each other that we're cute. All right, let's start the show.
Let's start the show. Everything you need to know about low THC strains. I've talked about low THC, and I've always said I've gotten high on a 14% THC strain just as much as I've gotten high off of a 36%. And this is flower I'm talking about, not cartridges or not dabs or any of that stuff. I'm talking about straight flower. And I've gotten high off of 14% all the way to 36%. But let's talk about low THC strains. Low THC is often regarded as a less than desirable among people with higher weed tolerances. It's true that someone who has been smoking cannabis daily for years isn't going to feel the effects of a low THC strain in a meaningful way. However, these people are in the minority. People who don't use weed on a daily basis or people who are using weed strictly for medicinal purposes may love low THC strains, specifically because their elevating effects aren't as overwhelming. If you're new to weed or you don't understand why people love it so much, a low THC strain might be a better fit for you. THC percentages in weed. In the olden days, weed used to have very little THC. The majority of strains were under 10% THC. If you feel like weed is stronger than it used to be, you are right. Growers focus on boosting the potency of their plants, sometimes escalating them as high as over 30% THC by dry weight, which equates to 30 milligrams of THC per gram. This would be considered a high THC percentage by standard, simply because percentages cannot get much higher than that. It's the upper end of what's possible for growers to cultivate. What is a low THC percentage? Most people have a subjective definition of what constitutes a low THC strain. Since the upper end is somewhere around 30%, weed in the 20% range would be considered lower. All things considered, weed in the 20% range still contains a whole lot of THC. The casual consumer consider weed under 20% to be low THC weed. Some people would consider weed under 10% to be low THC. If you went to a medical cannabis dispensary and asked for a low THC strain, they would present you with strains that contain less than 1% THC. Many people who prefer low THC strains would consider any strain under 10% THC to be low in THC. A 10% strain will contain 100 milligrams of THC per gram. And this gives people options. It's easy to smoke more or smoke less depending on personal preference or desired effects. What about high CBD strains? High CBD strains are generally very low in THC. Strains like Harlequin, Critical Mass CBD, Ringo's Gift, Canatonic, and Sour Tsunami are revered specifically for their high CBD content. People who live with chronic inflammatory conditions like arthritis tend to gravitate towards high CBD strains for the relief they provide. CBD prevents THC from binding to your brain cannabinoid receptors, throttling its ability to intoxicate you. High CBD, low THC strains may not produce noteworthy intoxicating effects due to the interaction between the cannabinoids. Who should use low THC strains? Low THC strains are great for beginners or people who use cannabis infrequently. If you only smoke weed 1 weekend every month, a 25% THC strain can be overwhelming. It might make you feel paranoid or anxious. I just read something. If you're feeling paranoid, and you know how I feel about when we talk about paranoia when you smoke cannabis, but if you do get paranoid, chew on a couple peppercorns. I think I've said that before. I can't remember. But I just read it again, and reading this article, I figured I'd mention that. So chew on a couple peppercorns. It could help. It might make you feel glued to the couch. The strong effects of the THC aren't suited to your tolerance, and you're more likely to have a bad experience. If you find that you're sensitive to the negative side effects of THC, a low THC strain is probably the answer. You'll chill out and enjoy yourself, and you'll be able to participate in whatever social activity or creative endeavor is transpiring around the weed. Do you want to hang out and play guitar? Do you want to write a cool piece of fiction? Do a watercolor painting? Or spending an afternoon cleaning your house? A low THC strain will make these activities a little more fun. Low THC sativa strains might help to spark up some energy, creativity, or inspiration. You were just saying that the other day. You're like, I need to smoke. I got to get creative. And you were going to smoke some of the Jack Herrera and get going.
Yep.
If you want to spend a night pampering yourself, doing yoga, reading a book, or meditating, the gentle sedative effects of a low THC indica may help you achieve the perfect headspace for relaxation. Medical cannabis patients love low THC strains. These people might enjoy the elevating effects of THC from time to time, but these effects aren't their primary reason for using cannabis. They want to experience benefits to the mental and physical wellness from the plant. Some medical cannabis patients have absolutely no interest in the recreational benefits of cannabis. They want to treat their symptoms and feel better so they can live their lives without interruption. THC is only intoxicating cannabinoid. It may have some effects that help with management of pain, so choosing a strain that has a little bit of THC can be advantageous for some medical cannabis patients. CBD can promote relaxation, and the personal experience of many medical cannabis patients seem to indicate that pain relief is more pronounced from high CBD strains. How to choose a low THC strain? Outside of the THC content, the differences between low THC strains are exactly the same as differences between all other strains. Low THC strains can be indica dominant, sativa dominant, or hybrids. They each boast their own unique terpene profile. Remember that. When I talk about sativa and hybrids and indica, remember this, it's just the plant style. I'm not really talking about how the effects of that plant. Remember, you need to find out everything about that plant. What's the terpene profile? What's the percentage of THC versus CBD, and what other cannabinoids are in it? Also, the plant is just the plant, and it's a beautiful, lovely plant. I talk about it all the time. But remember that. Look at everything that's in there. Read and understand, and go on websites too, and what other people feel on those effects too when you're going to buy. So find out what other people are feeling on those, and that's going to give you at least a little bit of a repertoire to understanding what that strain is all about. Like I read about the purple gelato. If you're using cannabis for a targeted concern, it helps to read reviews of the strain, determine what's going to work for you. Like I just said, everyone is different, and your experience with a particular strain may not be the same as someone else's experience with the same strain. The best way to tell if a low THC strain is going to agree with you would be to smell it. And we've talked about this. If the smell is pleasant to you, that usually indicates that the aromatic terpenes of the plant will work for you. If you can't smell your weed before you buy it, it helps to know what kind of fragrances and flavors you enjoy and how they make you feel. Reading the terpene profile of the strain will give you a great idea of what the experience is going to be like for you. Terpenes are very similar to aromatherapy. Terpenes like limonene are very lemon and zesty. They're bright and uplifting. Terpenes like myrcene are a combination of sweet and spicy. They might make you feel relaxed. If lavender helps you sleep like a baby, look for strains with linalool. If the smell of a pine tree soothes you, pinene is great to hit the spot. And I've talked about these in prior episodes too. But just refresher is always good. If you're still in the experimental phase, pick up a very small quantity of a few strains to see how they work for you. I did that with Mrs. Weedman. Remember the first when I got my med card? I was like a fucking kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
I came home because they gave us like 30% off and there was like specials going on that day. I came home with like 8 different strains. I was so happy. But we experimented and we found out what strains we liked.
I think for months you did. Really,
yeah.
Every time you'd go, you'd at least bring one new thing home.
I'd bring like 3 or 4 new things home because we were experimenting. And I also had Dov Boy here and T and Paulie and Shoddy. So we had a lot of smoking sessions down in the basement. Remember, we had that whole row.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, we had like, oh my God, probably 100 different
There
strains.
were really a lot. Yeah.
So it was the expendable of what we really liked. What you found out what you truly liked a lot was Kush. You really like Kush strains. So that's how it was, just a trial and error of what really worked for us and our endocannabinoid system. So when you find a winner, go ahead and stock up. If you keep it in an opaque, airtight container in a cool, dark place, it can stay fresh for months. I read up to a year to 2 years if you kept it like totally perfect too. So alternatives of a low THC strains. If you're having a difficult time tracking down a low THC strain, go for CBD flower. All CBD flowers are low THC by nature. Hemp flower is bred to be high in CBD and contains no meaningful amounts of THC. The THC plant is designated as a hemp is so low that you're not going to feel any of the effects. You also have the option of using a minimal amount of medium THC strains. If you use a one-hitter pipe or pack just a small pinch of higher THC weed into a bowl, you're going to be less impacted by the strain. If your strain is 20% THC, it's 200 milligrams of THC per gram. Therefore, 0.25 grams will contain 50 milligrams of THC, the same as a whole gram of a 5% strain. This might take some dialing in, but once you find the perfect amount, you can stick to it all the time. You can also turn to different forms of cannabis with high CBD, low THC ratios. We've talked about ratios before. Cannabis wellness products like tinctures and tablets come in a variety of different ratios. You can use a 30-to-1 ratio tincture where there's a 31 milligram of CBD to every 1 milligram of THC. So here's some takeaways. The low THC strain are sometimes something to be celebrated. They're extremely helpful to medical cannabis patients and people who use cannabis as a wellness tool rather than a recreational tool. There's nothing wrong with a THC-packed powerhouse if that's what you're into, but other people may not be on that same level. The beautiful thing about cannabis is that everyone can enjoy it from some form or another. It's time to show more love to low THC strains. I think it's a great fucking article. I like low THC strains. I think they're great, especially for newbies. I enjoy it. I also too. You can also do like the you can mix 2 together. Mix a high CBD strain with a high medium THC strain. Grind it up together and make your own little tea out of it. Try it out. I mean, just play with it. Have some fun. It's cannabis. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be loving. It's supposed to be unbelievably your experience with cannabis.
I've never thought about that. Do a lot of people mix their buds up?
We've talked about it before. Dog Boy and Paulie used to friggin' mix Skywalker OG and Vanilla Kush all the time. We've talked about it in other episodes. Yeah. They love doing that. And Jay Kush told us the name. I forgot the name of what they call it when they do it, when they mix it together. But try that too. But enjoy cannabis. The experience is what it's all about. And like I said, if you smoke something, if you're at a party and someone gives you a joint and they don't really know what it is, take a half a hit, like Snoop Dogg said. And then come back an hour later, I'm sure somebody else smoking another fucking joint. If you're not high anymore, smoke another half a hit. You just play along, man. Have some fun. Experience, man. Cannabis. Mrs. Weedman.
Man.
Mrs. Weedman.
Hey, man.
Hey, man. Hey, man.
Hey, man.
Tell us about driving skills.
Well, some have driving skills and some don't. I'll just tell you that. I was on the highway today. But I have an article here about how THC can impair your driving skills. That might be a lot of the problem, too, on our highway. But driving while under the influence is not for everyone. The study shows at least 50% of cannabis smokers shouldn't get behind the wheel. Now, this is just one study, so maybe it's 100%, all right? This is the article. The results of a new 2-year study at the Center for Medicinal Cannabis Research at UC San Diego suggest that not everyone can handle driving under the influence of THC. At least 50% of the control group had some impairment while undergoing driving simulations. The researchers recruited 191 regular cannabis users to take part in the study, some given weed to smoke with either 5.9% or 13.9% THC, and others given the placebo. Of those with THC in their systems, about half showed diminished ability in driving tests, including swerving in lanes, not keeping their attention on the road, and following a lead car. The decline was sharpest within the first hour after smoking, with no difference after 4 hours. But not all users thought there was a problem. Although users in the THC group felt impaired and were hesitant to drive at 30 minutes, by 1.5 hours, they believed the impairment was wearing off and were more willing to drive, said author Thomas Marcotte, co-director of CMCR and professor of psychiatry at UCSD School of Medicine. This was despite their performance not significantly improving from the 30-minute point. This may indicate a false sense of safety, and these first few hours may constitute a period of greatest risk since users are self-evaluating whether it is safe to drive. As recreational cannabis use becomes legal in more states, more people will undoubtedly drive while high. As law enforcement is still trying to figure out how to measure and regulate it. Of course, it's easy to say, don't smoke and drive, but studies like this show it's not that simple. DUI laws, at least when it comes to cannabis, aren't easy to create. It's hard to know when someone is high because of so many variables, from the product to the individual user. Our study of a large group of regular users underscores the complexity in understanding the relationship between cannabis intake and diminished driving. It reinforces the challenges in communicating the varying levels of risk associated with use and the difficulty in identifying the subset of individuals most at risk for impaired driving, Marcotte added. More research is needed, says the author. They suggest future studies should address individual biological differences, personal experience with cannabis, and how the consumer ingests their cannabis. So, long story short, just don't smoke and drive.
Well, I mean, there's people that do. And
Right.
I mean, I know I've smoked.
There's people that do. It doesn't mean they should, right?
I've smoked and driven, but later, and we've talked about this, later, like when I'm not like at
well,
the
they're
peak
saying
of the
like
high.
4 hours.
Right.
So like if you're out and you...
And we've been there.
Yeah.
You go to a show, and then you go out to a bar next door, and you hang out and you dance and you have a couple cocktails, and then you know you're not buzzed anymore. You drive home. You know, I have. I'm not gonna lie about it. I have. So, and do I condone it? No. But it's your choice.
Bit of a double standard, mister.
No, for myself.
Right.
I don't condone it. So, but I still think they're going to do more research.
Yes.
A lot
I
more
think
research.
that it is, they're completely right in the fact that it's so hard to, obviously more studies. We are constantly saying that we need more research. We need more studies. So they need bigger groups. They need bigger demographics. To figure this all out.
Here's the crazy thing. I've driven with people that smoke constantly and they drive fucking amazing.
But I think that there's certain people that, like they're saying, like that, yes, maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know. But I think on a legal perspective, if you're not supposed to drive under the influence of anything, right, and you're getting pulled over because you're driving weird, there may be some people who drive really inappropriately when they're high.
Right.
And so, or there may not be. Yeah. Point is, what they're trying to figure out is how do we create laws when a THC level does not actually equate how high you are at the moment, because
True.
some people can handle more THC.
Right.
And so you may have smoked this morning and you're driving at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, you're not high anymore, right? And so, but the THC may still be really prevalent in your blood. So they have to figure out testing so that they can figure out like at the moment. And that's going to help too for employers, because
Right.
if there's people who medicinally use cannabis or people who recreationally use it in their free hours that are not work involved, that's their right to do so. But if they come to work when their day begins and they get their company randomly tests and they get tested, they may read as someone with THC. Well, the company, if they didn't smoke before they came to work, it's not affecting their working abilities.
Right.
And so there's a lot of room, whoever that smart person is that creates that test that can legitimately say if at this moment you are high, will be a billionaire. Really,
Yeah,
think
it's
about
true.
it.
True.
Because it'll be incorporated in the workplace. It'll be incorporated in law enforcement, all over the place.
Right. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Time will tell. Now ready to come down from your high? how to make your high last a little longer. We've talked about intensifying your high with mangoes and other stuff, but this is like, how do you make your high last longer? Getting the most from a daily dose of medicinal cannabis is top of mind for every patient, especially those treating chronic conditions. A longer lasting high translates into less time spent dosing, substantial cost savings, and most importantly, more effective treatment. So how do you make weed higher last long? While stoner myths abound about this particular topic, most lists highlight questionable options like mangoes and ice bongs, like I've talked about. Although well-intentioned, these aren't based on sound science. Research into the onset, peak, and duration of effects from cannabis focuses on different routes of administration, tolerance breaks, and potential herbal hacks. Together, you can use these ideas to help you extend the high for more powerful and lasting results. How long does a high normally last? Many variables feed into the final equation of extended high. Dose size, route of administration, tolerance level, metabolism, and more will impact how long you feel the effects of TH-rich products. Smoking and vaping deliver results quickly, onset between 6 to 10 minutes, but they rapidly peter out from start to finish. Effects typically last for 2 to 3 hours. Effects from edibles have a much longer duration, but may take well over an hour to come on. Expect effects peaks to last around 5 hours after consumption, lingering as long as 12 hours. Oral mucosal options, which include THC sprays and tinctures, absorbed through the lining of your mouth, sit somewhere between the two extremes of smoking versus ingesting. I'm going to take a sip of water. Sorry about that, everybody. The consensus is that sprays and tinctures deliver a rapid onset of effects, peaking around 2 to 4 hours later. How I extend my high. Want to figure out how to make weed high last longer. Man, I'm dying right now.
Yeah, you are.
Sorry, everybody. Good. You don't need to eat more mangoes or combine a joint with a beer, as some recreational resources strangely suggest. Instead, the safest way to extend the high and the medicinal effects from cannabis is likely an intelligent combination of the following. Choose the longest lasting method of consumption. Edibles. Take regular TB breaks. Extend effects of smoking, vaping, or other rapid onset options. Experiment with herbs and other substances that inhibit THC breakdown. Choosing the longest lasting route of administration. When selecting the long-lasting effects, not all methods of consumption were created equal. For example, if you choose to eat THC-infused edibles instead of a puff from a THC vape pen, you will experience a dramatically different high duration. Inhalable smoking and vaping, onset is 10 minutes, durations up to 3 hours. Edibles, onset 30 to 90 minutes, duration up to 12 hours. And that's a long-lasting high depending on your milligram dosage. Like fucking Oklahoma, 1,000 milligram fucking bags of edibles, which I posted. Do it right out there, Tulsa and Oklahoma, I'm telling you. Layering effects for a longer-lasting high. For long-lasting benefits, the best route of administration is an edible. But because the effects of edibles are unpredictable in onset and duration, you may wish to layer in the other options like smoking or vaping for more consistent relief. Taking a tolerance break, which we've talked about. It's just like take some time off every once in a while if you think you need it. I took a day off once.
A day.
A day.
You've gone longer than a day without.
Well, there was one time I went for a little bit, but that was years ago. I took a break from everything.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think I took one day off a few, like 6, maybe 8 months ago. It was like just one full day. I just wanted to see. I was like, all right, I'm good.
I think a tolerance break, they say like a week, right?
Yeah, usually about a week. Some people take a month off, a week to a month, you know. I knew a guy that he smoked since he was like 15, and at 35, he was having a low sperm count, and his doctor said you should lay off the cannabis. So he laid off it for like, I think it was like 120 days, and for like the first month, I see him like almost every day. He was sweating. Like the first like month, sweating. He said he was having like bad dreams, and it was just like he couldn't get like. So it did. It took some time for his body to acclimate to get his endocannabinoid system what was helping him off. But who knows? You know, it was just crazy watching him go through that TB break for as long as he did. Whew. Yeah. And the first time he got high again, he said he was higher than he'd been since he was 15.
It worked.
Yeah. So we talked about mangoes for the herbal hacks for extending the high. So mango stoner myths aside, they may be evidence-based herbal hacks that can help slow down the way your body processes THC. Theoretically, If you can prevent your liver from breaking down THC, you can alter the effect profile of THC and even potentially make your high last longer. What's the best way to slow down the natural process? Our livers are the primary organ responsible for metabolizing cannabinoids like THC. The process involves enzymes, especially a class of enzymes known as cytochrome P450 enzymes. These enzymes are responsible for breaking down many different molecules in the body, including a wide variety of pharmaceuticals. Because of its importance for other drugs, there is actually a lot of research into what inhibits its function. In general, the two major enzymes involved in THC metabolisms are CYP3A4 and CYP2C9. And while 2C9 primarily produces 11-hydroxy-THC, which we've talked about many times, the CYP3A4 enzymes produces other less psychoactive THC metabolites. As such, interfering with 3A4 by taking other herbal products could hypothetically alter one's response to THC by altering how much 11-hydroxy is produced. Still, there isn't much available information about taking both cryochrome P450, 3A4 inhibitors and THC, so we all have to pull evidence from other relevant fields of study. According to non-cannabis research, we know that the green tea, agarose mushrooms, mistletoe, and non-juice inhibit the function of chromochrome P450 and 3A4 in vitro, with green tea producing the greatest inhibition. In theory, consuming a cup of green tea may inhibit the enzyme activity, which slow down how fast your liver processes THC. These herbal hacks could extend the THC high, but all of these need cannabis-specifically clinical study, and also all have their own unique effect on the body and brain to consider, such as the caffeine content in green tea. Keep in mind, this enzyme is responsible for breaking down many pharmaceutical drugs, so there is significant risk of drug-drug interaction with these products, and some interactions may be serious. If you are taking any other medication or over-the-counter supplements, speak with your physician and pharmacist before you self-experiment. So, yeah, that's some good research. I mean, more and more, and cannabis is a complicated plant that we're finding out. It's not. There's so much still we don't know about. So, experiment, like I always said, take it slow, be careful. You know, this is just, I thought it was a good article. So, women in 2022, Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah.
They're going to kick ass, take names in the cannabis industry, right?
I think so.
Tell
Well,
us
they
about
were
it.
kicking ass and taking names, but I've got this article here about why 2022 will be a defining year for female leadership in cannabis. The cannabis industry cannot reach its full potential without women leading the charge as well. Over the past 2 years, the U.S. has pulled ahead as one of the most valuable cannabis markets in the world, with projections estimating the U.S. market to be worth over $90 billion by 2026. However, even in this period of remarkable growth, female leadership has dwindled to an all-time low. According to MJ Biz Daily's 2021 Women and Minorities in the Cannabis Industry report, female executive representation is down to 22%, lower than the 36.8% in 2019. And well below the national average for mainstream businesses, which stands at roughly 30%. Despite these figures, it's important to recognize that a number of female leaders are currently at the helm of some of the most influential cannabis companies in the country. By successfully executing growth strategies in a myriad of industry sectors, this dynamic group of women is redefining what good practice looks like and ushering in a new class of female leaders to build an inclusive and sophisticated, regulated industry. Female executives are upping the ante on growth goals. The small but powerful cannabis investment community is driving growth by providing companies throughout the supply chain with the resources to scale ahead of legalization. Since launching in 2020, Advanced Flower Capital has established itself as a leading provider of institutional loans as one of the largest NASDAQ-listed cannabis lenders. Much of its $9.4 billion in deals has stemmed from Advanced Flower Capital's partner and head of origination and investor relations, Robin Tannenbaum. Through their highly selective vetting process, where a small number of potential deals have secured funding, it not only shows wary institutional investors that today's cannabis funds take a more judicious and strategic approach to deploying capital, but also amplifies the wider industry's legitimacy for future mainstream investors. Among the top 10 multi-state operators, only TrueLeaf is led by a female CEO. In October 2021, TrueLeaf became the largest and most profitable operator after completing its Harvest Health and Recreation acquisition under the leadership of Kim Rivers. Rivers, who is part of the company's founding team, spearheaded TrueLeave's hub model, which played an instrumental role in the company's success in scaling in new markets. While Rivers is widely recognized for her business and legal experience, she is also admired by employees for being a hands-on leader, often soliciting feedback from staff on the ground and galvanizing teams to work toward a common goal. Female leaders are keeping diversity, equity, and inclusion in the foreground. Low rates of female and minority participation is a pervasive issue within cannabis, and female leaders are tackling these glaring disparities through their own businesses. In California, Amber Center is creating an ecosystem that equips business owners of color to become self-sufficient industry shareholders. Through her own ventures, spanning distribution platform Maker House, Supernova Women, and Equity Works Incubator, she has worked with Oakland's lawmakers to develop the country's first cannabis social equity program and mentored hundreds of aspiring entrepreneurs. Additionally, Dina Rollman, Green Thumb Industries Senior Vice President of Government and Regulatory Affairs, played a key role in initiating the company's proactive approach to corporate social responsibility and community outreach. After recognizing the obstacles people of color face during the early stages of Illinois licensing processes, she helped develop Green Thumb's License Education Application Program, or LEAP. The program supports applicants in Illinois where minority representation among cannabis businesses is still negligible. The industry is beholden to female consumers. Historically, men have been the most coveted cannabis consumer demographic, but they are quickly losing ground to younger women. In a recent report by Headset, Gen Z women are now the fastest growing consumers of legal cannabis, increasing year-over-year sales by 151%. As more female consumers engage with the industry, companies must revisit their product research and development and marketing strategies to better serve the preferences of this demographic. Consequently, established players must lean on the expertise of diverse female leaders to develop fresh ways to reach female audiences. Today's socially conscious consumers are inclined to support businesses that align with their values and identities, including more women in decisive roles who enable companies to build authentic relationships instead of merely pandering to them. Today's executives have demonstrated to the wider business community that female leaders have the skills and foresight to make strategic decisions that benefit their companies and local communities. Their abilities to exceed industry expectations underscore how much farther the industry can go if more talented women enter the fold. These executives are encouraging potential female leaders to take the leap while incentivizing skeptics to invest in more women. The cannabis industry cannot reach its full potential without women leading the charge as well.
Sweet.
Go ladies.
It's also the start of Black History Month, too, so
Yeah.
that was great that we're starting it off with...
minorities and yeah.
And then we got some more to talk about with that.
Yep.
So some top things to know in your state, what's going on right now. Mississippi lawmakers sent a medical cannabis bill to the desk of Governor Tate Reeves. While the governor had threatened to veto over the previous version, he said his team will carefully review the legislation before he makes a decision, and is very pleased that they got to see so much progress made in improving it with amendments. The Delaware House of Human Development Committee approved the cannabis legalization bill. Minnesota Tim Walz included funding for the legalization of cannabis in his budget request. The House of Representatives passed a bill to legalize cannabis last year, but it has stalled in the Republican-controlled Senate. The South Carolina Senate finally began a floor debate on medical cannabis bill that's been 8 years in the making. 8 years. Wow. The discussion is expected to last several legislative days before a vote is held. Colorado activists filed revised ballot initiatives to legalize psilocybin, the time without possession limits. Separately, state lawmakers introduced a bill to study the therapeutic benefits of psychedelics. Wisconsin Republican lawmakers introduced a limited medical cannabis legalization bill. It comes one day after the Senate GOP members unanimously blocked a broader Democratic-led cannabis legalization amendment. Oh, God. Just come together. Come together right now. Over cannabis. Some federal stuff. Senator Elizabeth Warren said she's deeply skeptical of the Amazon's lobbying on cannabis. It is anything more than a self-interested move to monopolize yet another market, potentially blocking Black and Latino entrepreneurs from emerging industry. Representative Nancy Mace tweeted, the overwhelming majority of South Carolinians are in favor of cannabis reform in some way, shape, or form. It's time our laws in South Carolina reflect what the will of its people. That's why I support South Carolina Senator Tom Davis' Compassionate Care Act. She also appeared in the South Carolina State House to rally support for the bill. Representative Jay Albernotti, I guess that's how you pronounce it. I butchered the shit out of it, I bet. Republican California included an option on illegal cannabis grows and survey about which issues are important to constituents. There's also another law right now in California I just read today that it's going to be a felony charge. Felony, which was once a misdemeanor, now a felony charge if you grow more than 6 plants. Like if you're home grow.
Wow.
If you get caught, it's going to be a felony charge. Because they're trying to stop all the illegal grow that's been going on in the deserts and all that stuff. But still, man, there's a felony charge for more than 6 plants. I can understand if you got like a couple thousand, but get out of here with that shit. Vermont Democratic congressional candidate Kesha Ram Hensley, currently a state senator, tweeted last year introduced a bill to repair harm from the so-called war on drugs by directing revenue from cannabis control to impacted communities. Grateful the Cannabis Advisory Board is advancing the recommendations this session. We must reinvest in true community safety. Some more states. Governor Ron DeSantis avoided a question about whether he supports cannabis legalization, but complained about the smell of people smoking it. Oh gosh. Though he did express support for not incarcerating people for cannabis. The smell is wonderful, Ron. Wonderful. Nevada governor tweeted, "I'm pleased to see that the Nevada CCB and the Cannabis Advisory Commission highlighting the need for more diversity and inclusion with Nevada's legal cannabis industry." Ohio Democratic gubernatorial candidate John Cannerly, currently Cincinnati's mayor, tweeted, "Oh wait, go Bengals. Go Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals."
Yeah, that was a big one.
Hell yeah. It's not enough for cannabis to be decriminalized in Ohio. Every day it's illegal is another day we're leaving tax revenue and jobs on the table that could be going right back into our communities. It's time to legalize it. Hashtag legalize it. Washington, D.C.'s Attorney General tweeted, "Safe injection sites are saving lives in New York since the opening of November 30th. They reversed at least 85 overdoses. I support these sites," he's saying. Colorado's treasurer tweeted more than $12 billion in cannabis has been sold since legalization in 2014, with $2 billion in taxes. Holy shit. Virginia Senate President Pro Tempore tweeted, "Let's talk about pot. Yes, we legalized it, and I even opened the cannabis outlet after we did, but the job isn't done. People are still in jail for something that is legal today. My SB 518 would give them all a chance to be resentenced and get home with their families." Good for him. The South Dakota House State Affairs Committee approved a bill to limit the types of medical cannabis products that will be allowed. You guys just suck. Everything I've read about South Dakota, your government, I'm not talking about the people of South Dakota, the cannabis community in South Dakota. I am talking about the people who write the laws in South Dakota. You all suck. A Nebraska senator posted, "Just thought I'd drop a quick note that I am not settling for anything that does not create a safe, effective, and accessible medical cannabis system in our state. We are full steam ahead on the ballot initiative." All right, Nebraska, let's see if it goes. California regulators ordered a recall of cannabis flower over mold contamination. We've talked a ton about mold, so just be careful what you're buying. Louisiana regulators amend medical cannabis rules. Arkansas regulators are circulating proposed medical cannabis rules change for public comment. Pennsylvania regulators posted a free fee schedule for replacement medical cannabis cards and qualifications for financial hardships in the program. New York regulators published an updated list of doctors who are certified to recommend medical cannabis and who have consented to having their names shared. Good for them. Governors across the U.S. tout cannabis reform progress in a state of the state speeches and budgets. Some of you guys, I think you've done a good job. Some of you, New York expands medical cannabis program by abolishing qualifying conditions. Good for you, New York. Another one, New York doctors can now recommend medical cannabis to patients for any condition they see fit. That's big.
That's good.
That's really big. Colorado meets cannabis industry diversity goal ahead of schedule. Good for you, Colorado. Massachusetts adult use cannabis sales reached $2.54 billion since start. Wow, good for you. Arizona sold $1.2 billion of weed in 2021, its first year of legal adult use sales. That's a lot. Jeez. Amazon, we talked about, of course, they're going to endorse the GOP-led bill to federally legalize cannabis. It's a cash crop for them, trust me. Bipartisan Tennessee lawmakers want to put cannabis on the ballot for voters to decide. Good for you, Tennessee. And make sure if you vote yes, you hold them to it. Not like South Dakota that doesn't understand what their voters truly want in that state. A majority of Americans say they'd vote for a politician who smokes cannabis, poll finds. All right. There was a couple presidents that said they smoked cannabis. and it got everybody all hyped up. But here's my thing. What did they do for cannabis?
Nothing.
Exactly. Next. New Jersey legal weed sales unlikely to start in February. State may miss key deadline. Of course. Just fucking grab-assing, man. It's terrible. Virginia GOP seeks to amend state's cannabis laws. Of course, because it's not his. So he's going to make it the way he wants it and he feels. So tout nothing. Here's something crazy. Illinois must quit awarding adult-use craft cannabis licenses, court rules. And I saved this one for last because it's home team. The Illinois High Court threw another wrench into the state's adult-use cannabis program. The state Supreme Court denied a request to allow Illinoisans to license the winners of craft cannabis cultivation licenses, which means the process is halted until pending lawsuits are settled, the Chicago Tribune reported. According to the state law, Illinois was required to issue up to 60 new craft cultivation cannabis licenses by December 21st, but at least 13 applications sued to challenge their being denied permits. This summer, the state awarded the first 40 craft grower licenses before the court prohibition took effect, so those will still need to be issued. The state is trying to honor its pledge to diversify the industry and provide opportunities to individuals and communities most harmed by the war on drugs. But so far, regulators' actions have been heavily mirrored in litigation. Another 185 new adult use retail licenses are stuck in limbo as lawsuits proceed in that sector. Man, this was supposed to be done last year. This is just complete garbage. We need those 185 licenses. We need those craft growers. This is a highly, highly, highly corporate state cannabis. So all I'm telling you is we need all those new licenses. I want some fucking craft cannabis. I want some fucking genetics that are going to blow my mind. And I want pricing to be better. And you'll see the price drops once those 185 new and all those new craft grows and new dispensaries open up and the infuser licenses. You're going to see prices come down. And as Wisconsin opens up, if
Is it happening?
They got a law on the table I just read.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
If Iowa opens up, Missouri goes fully blown, Kentucky goes, Indiana will be one of the last states, I presume. We'll see.
They're holding out. What
I'm saying is, though, the Illinois sales will drop.
Right.
Because we did $600 million in out of state sales, or $400 million in out of state sales last year. That's going to drop once those other states start opening up. And then there's going to be a price drop like we've never seen. I'm talking about like 30-40% when all those other states open up. And you have all that competition. Woo, we'll be seeing what happened in Oklahoma, going on in Oklahoma, where it's cheap to get good weed out there. We were reading an article from Normal about alcohol and cannabis. Go ahead, Mrs. Weedman.
Yep. Alcohol, not cannabis, is associated with violent behaviors in psychotic patients. This is a study out of Montreal, Canada. The consumption of alcohol, but not cannabis, is associated with an increased likelihood of impulsiveness and violent behavior amongst subjects with schizophrenic spectrum disorders, according to data published in the Journal of Clinical Psychopharmacology. A team of Canadian and Italian investigators assessed the relationship between the use of alcohol and cannabis on psychotic, impulsive, and violent behavior in a cohort of subjects diagnosed with either schizophrenia or other psychotic disorders. All of the subjects in the cohort possessed a history of violent behavior. Researchers reported cannabis use disorder was neither associated with impulsive behavior nor with violent behavior. By contrast, they determined that alcohol use disorder was positively associated with increased levels of impulsivity, in particular, impulsive and thoughtless behavior. Alcohol use disorder was also significantly associated with violence. They concluded, in summary, our findings indicate that lifetime cannabis use disorder is frequent among patients with psychotic disorders, but is not associated with violent or impulsive behaviors. Previous studies have identified elevated levels of cannabis use among subjects with certain psychotic or psychiatric disorders, some of whom may be seeking to self-medicate with it. Full text of the study, named Cannabis use disorder is not associated with lifetime impulsive behavior and severe violence in patients with schizophrenia spectrum disorders from a high-security hospital, appears in the Journal of Clinical Psychopharmacology, if you want to read the full study. That's interesting because we talk about that all the time.
We just talked about a couple episodes about people who were drunk versus people who smoke cannabis. It's just...
And so here...
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah. If anything, it may be beneficial to some of them.
The Reefer Madness videos back when they were made, made those people who were smoking cannabis look psychotic and made them act like they were psychotic. I've never seen a psychotic stoner.
Can't say I have either.
So, more research. Cannabis wins again. International news. Go Thailand! Go Thailand! Go Thailand! Fuck yeah! I smoke big fat joints. Thailand becomes the first Asian nation to decriminalize cannabis and home grow.
Yay.
Thai sticks for everybody. Fuck yeah. Thailand basically just legalized weed. Thailand's deputy prime minister and public health minister announced last Tuesday that the Narcotics Control Board will remove cannabis from its list of controlled drugs. Removing it from the list will effectively decriminalize the plant and allow adults to grow their own cannabis at home. United States of America, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing?
Holy schmoly. That's intense.
I'm fucking, after reading that,
Yeah.
I'm so proud of Thailand. I want to go smoke some fat fucking Thai sticks in Thailand and get to meet the cannabis community there one day. I'm so proud of them because they did it right. Decriminalize it, home grow. Amazing. So proud of you, Thailand. What's the capital of Thailand?
Bangkok.
There you go. There you
got
go.
it. I got it.
You got it. We're going to go to Bangkok one day.
We are.
And smoke fucking
giant
Thai
Thai
sticks and have a good Thai beer. It's going to be amazing.
I want to wash an elephant too.
There you go.
Is
While
that
we're
all right?
smoking a Thai stick. Ride an elephant, smoke a Thai stick. Take a look inside Cape Town's newest members-only cannabis club. South Africa's cannabis industry has grown rapidly since the landmark constitutional court ruling in 2018, which decriminalized private and personal use of the plant. Good for you. This ruling also gave entrepreneur Pierre Sandbach the guts to open up a cannabis club in Cape Town. Cannabisters in Sea Point opened its doors at the end of 2021 and has already attracted more than 200 members. The club doesn't sell any daga, which they call it there, products. Instead, it shares and exchanges with members who pay $100 a month. Drinking alcohol or smoking cigarettes are strictly forbidden in this club. Good for them. Man, that's awesome. Good for you, Cape Town. Keep on going out there. Australia, and also my a good friend of the show from Australia, he got another doggy. I talked about his dog. And he got another puppy, American Bulldog, so cute. And don't stop sending me pictures. I'm just very jealous of the beach pictures you send me because it's beautiful in West Australia. So all my friends in Australia, thank you. I appreciate you all. The pictures are great. Your buds and your everything you're sending me. Keep on doing Australia, our friends from down under. Australia's new cannabis import rules could leave non-GMP producers in the cold. Come on, Australia, you just need to do what Thailand just did. And you got some good stuff going on. But just decriminalize it. Let people home grow and just let people smoke. Canadian cannabis sales could top $4.8 billion in 2022, analysts forecast. Damn, Canada, our friends to the north. What's my favorite? One of my favorite Christmas songs.
Hee-haw, hee-haw, hee-haw.
Hee-haw, hee-haw. Dominic the donkey.
Hee-haw, hee-haw, hee-haw.
Would you feed Dominic some buds?
You better not feed Dominic some buds.
Tell us why.
Well, this article says, don't feed marijuana buds to donkeys. New study warns. So somebody felt it was necessary to test cannabis on donkeys. I mean, why donkeys?
Or maybe they got into someone's grow. You know, I don't know. Maybe they were by a
No,
fence.
they investigated. Like
someone investigated?
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah, donkeys. Why
All right.
not? Why not dogs?
I don't know.
Donkeys.
I don't know.
Well, let's see. Feeding donkeys fresh marijuana buds is inadvisable, people. According to a new study that looked at novel cases of cannabis toxicosis in 2 equines. The study, published in the Journal of Veterinary Diagnostic Investigation, investigated what happened after Jack and Jenny. Now, this is a study of only two animals of an
it's not
entire
Jack and Diane.
species.
Should have been
But
Jack
I mean,
and
it's
Diane.
not even like a test group. It's Jack and Jenny.
Here's a little ditty.
About Jack and Jenny.
Jack and Jenny smoking them buds.
Jack and Jenny are not their names. Those are the terms for male and female donkeys. See, I'm teaching everybody
There you
something,
go.
respectively, that is. They were fed a few grams of cannabis. Well, that's a lot, right? I mean, donkeys don't even eat cannabis. Now you're going to give them a few grams of it. Well,
Yeah, right.
all right. That had been legally grown for human consumption. The donkey's symptoms sound a lot like what happens when a person takes an edible that's too strong. They presented as lethargic, and their hearts were beating faster than normal, for example. But while it took a bit longer to come down from the high for the donkeys compared to humans, with symptoms lasting 44 hours, well, yeah, because you gave them multiple grams. The younger Jenny did end up having to go to the hospital. The study says both animals recovered uneventfully within 24 hours of peak effects. Marijuana toxicosis is typically seen by companion animal veterinarians. However, with increased marijuana availability, there's greater potential for toxicosis in other species, the study authors wrote. To the scientists' knowledge, this is the first study documenting cases of cannabis consumption in donkeys. Gee, go figure. A positive outcome from the donkeys' high was that scientists had the chance to experiment with testing procedures to confirm that the symptoms were due to cannabis exposure. They used a screening assay in collaboration with a veterinary diagnostic laboratory, which the study authors said may be useful when an equine practitioner suspects marijuana toxicosis in a patient. While they were able to determine the cannabinoid concentrations in the donkey's plasma, the researchers noted that more data is needed to figure out at what dose of cannabis toxicosis would happen in the species. In terms of treating donkeys who ate too much marijuana, the study says practitioners could potentially use gastric lavage, administer activated charcoal, or use laxatives. The adjunctive therapies are targeted at decreasing gastric absorption and facilitating excretion to limit the adverse effects of cannabis, they wrote. There is no scientific evidence to support the benefit of these therapies for marijuana toxicosis in equine patients. However, activated charcoal and gastric lavage are effective means of supportive treatment for marijuana toxicosis in canine patients. The study doesn't directly comment on ethics of feeding cannabis to donkeys, but as a general rule, people are discouraged from intentionally intoxicating animals and should take precaution to avoid accidental ingestion. Another study released last year found that apparently some canines are even getting intoxicated off of marijuana by eating the feces of people who have consumed it.
We talked about
Seattle.
that with Maxie. We also
yeah.
talked about with Maxie eating the throw up too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on areas where there's bigger homeless populations and
Right.
things. Yeah. Separately, there's interest within the scientific community about the effects of non-intoxicating CBD in animals like dogs and horses. Dogs with epilepsy experience considerably fewer seizures when treated with CBD oil. A study published in the Journal of Pet Behavior Science in 2019 found. The prior year, a separate study determined that CBD can alleviate the symptoms of osteoarthritis in dogs. The Food and Drug Administration, for its part, has repeatedly warned pet owners about using CBD to treat firework-related anxiety in pets around the 4th of July holiday. So, obviously, they're saying FDA hasn't approved CBD for animals, but they're doing studies. And if you have a donkey, don't give it weed.
Hee-haw, hee-haw, hee-haw.
Hee-haw. It won't be hee-hawing. It'll be like, wah-wah.
Yeah, right. Actor and comedian Jim Belushi appeared on Late Night with Seth Meyers last week for an interview about cannabis, farming, business, and advocacy. Actor and cannabis entrepreneur Jim Belushi appeared on NBC's Late Night with Seth Meyers last week for an interview about cannabis farming, advocacy efforts, and a launch of a second season of Growing Belushi, a discovery show about Belushi's cannabis farm in Southern Oregon. During the interview, Belushi said that while he doesn't get stoned, he microdoses with cannabis edibles and his own flower during evenings to help get to sleep. At one point, Myers asked Belushi if he could share any advice for people considering becoming a professional cannabis grower. This is his words, Jim Belushi's words. "Don't do it," Belushi answered. "They make it seem like it's a gold rush, but it is not. This is farming. I am a farmer. I am in the soil. The farmer man has a tough life, let me tell you, but it's fun. I love it," he said. All right, so if you want to become a cannabis grower and you have passion for it and you want to do it, do it. That's all I'm going to say. And you're going to have to go through some trials and tribulations, some ups, hills, and valleys. But if you're passionate and you got integrity, and it's all about passion and heart, and if you got that, you could do it. So that's Mr. Weedman's fucking opinion. So Belushi also highlighted the importance of cannabis advocacy efforts and discussed his partnership with the Last Prisoner Project. We've talked about that many times on the show, an organization that works to get cannabis prisoners released from prison and provides re-entry assistance to formerly incarcerated cannabis prisoners. Here's something that I like that he said. The cannabis prisoners were the pioneers for the cannabis industry. They're the ones that took the arrows, They're the ones that went to jail for nonviolent cannabis crimes, where they had an ounce or 3 pounds on them. They were trying to make a living for their family. When they get thrown into prison, it collapses that family, creates more trauma. There are 40,000 men and women incarcerated right now for nonviolent cannabis crimes. That's Jim Belushi on the Late Night Show with Seth Meyers. The interview marked the second time Belushi has come on Meyers' show to discuss his new life as a cannabis farmer. New episodes of the second season of Growing Belushi air Wednesday nights on Discovery. So good for Jim. I like him. He also said about his brother John that cannabis could have helped him before he passed. And if you don't know John Belushi, man, watch Animal House. That's all I got to say. or older, or really like the early seasons of SNL, the first season. So if you want to know who John Belushi is. Since it is Black History Month, we're going to throw a shout out to our the man who we appreciate his music, and we also appreciate how much he smokes, and that's Snoop Dogg with his Casa Verde Capital E's $4 million round for THC-infused snack brand to Sumo Snacks. According to the .LA, the legendary hip-hop artist VC firm Casa Verde is back to Sumo Snacks, a cannabis brand offering tortilla chips and cheese puffs infused with 10 milligram dose of THC per bag in a $4 million seed funding round. Good for Snoop. I love that he's like just killing it in cannabis, like he kills it in his music. It's amazing. Good for you. Happy Black History Month, everybody out there. That's the end of the show.
That's it.
That's it, everybody. I'm baked, feeling good. Ms. Weedman, how you feeling?
I felt pretty clear-headed.
Yeah,
it's nice.
What it says.
It's nice.
Good body high, keeps your head clear. But I was pretty stoned. I like it. Good job, Dungeon Vault Genetics.
Let's smoke some more.
Thank you, Tulsa Dispensary, for that. And we appreciate you all out there listening. We love you all. Thank you from around the world. Send us those DMs. Send us those emails. Say hi. Mrs. Weedman even gets on there now and then too and says hi. So check us out on Instagram at Weedman420 Chronicles, on Twitter Weedman420 Pod, on TikTok Weedman420 Chronicles. Got a TikTok. Thank you for sending me all those funny little videos and shit. I've been laughing a lot lately. Also Weedman420 Chronicles at gmail.com. Thanks for emailing us. I'll get back to you as much as I possibly can. I love you all out there in the world. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.